Hi everyone, my name is Justin Kampf and I have a PhD in exercise science, and I currently work as the fitness director for Sequence, which is a medical weight loss telemed platform. In my last video, I talked about the things that needed to be in place for you to be successful with sticking with an exercise routine. Today, I'm going to teach you how to change those things. We'll discuss how to essentially give yourself an intervention so that you're successful in the long run with your exercise adherence. But before I do that, can you please go ahead and do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, and please like this video. If you can, please share this as well. I think this is a great opportunity to get some of this information out there. I really appreciate this. I think that will help the channel grow so we can continue to give you better content. Let's start out with this. Interventions change outcomes. That is the goal of all interventions. If I had a headache, for example, I might take a Tylenol to help with that. The intervention works by changing my headache. If I wanted to get stronger, the intervention that I would apply would be to do resistance training. But what if the goal is to first just simply change our behavior? What we do is we'd apply an intervention that is using what is called behavior change techniques, in the hopes that these techniques subsequently change our behavior. So now, how does that actually work? In my last video, I talked about the determinants of behavior. So we said, this is broadly speaking, that motivation, opportunity, and capabilities determine behavior. So interventions work by changing at least one, if not more, of these things. The change in these determinants is what causes changes in behavior. Now let me give you an example. It's something that I do in my class at university. Now I ask my students to raise their hand as high as they possibly can. All of my students have the opportunity to do this. This just means there's no barriers getting in the way from them raising their hand as high as they possibly could. They all have the capability to do this. So how high they raise their hands is entirely dependent on how motivated they are. Now most of their hands go up in the air, maybe 90% of the way. Then I tell them I'll give them $100 if they can raise their hand any higher. All of their hands go up by that extra 10%. So I used a behavior change technique, in this case an incentive, which changed motivation, which then changed behavior. What I am going to do today is give you 3 behavior change techniques that I think are vital for exercise behavior change. So here they are. Number 1 is going to be planning, and this can come in any number of forms, but the most straightforward type of plan is an action plan. It describes when and where you will exercise. I encourage people to pick the best days and times to exercise, then block that time off in their calendar so they get a prompt as well. Implementation intentions are a similar type of plan. These are called if-then plans. They're essentially behavioral shortcuts. An example of this would be, if I'm done with work, then I'll walk for 20 minutes. Or if I'm done with my first cup of coffee, I will go to the gym. The last type of plan is called a coping plan. And this describes what to do if barriers come up or get in the way with our original plan. The next behavior change technique that I would encourage you to use is to reduce the task demand. Oftentimes the hardest part about exercise is actually getting started. So this is taking our body from where we are to the place where we need to be to exercise. And a specific technique that I use is called a starter step. This is when you focus on the one thing that you need to do to get the ball rolling. Often people find an hour of exercise to be quite daunting, but the hardest part is really just getting in your car. If you can get in your car, that's all it really takes to get the ball rolling if you're going to a gym. So think about the first thing that you need to do to get yourself on essentially autopilot, rather than focusing on the longer task at hand. You can also truly reduce the task demand, especially if motivation is low, by cutting your workout time in half. Building in behavioral reps helps with consistency, so it's important to do just that. Now, how long or how intensely we exercise when we're first getting started matters considerably less. The last technique I recommend is to reduce friction. Now let me talk about a study that came out of the University of Buffalo to help elaborate this. In this study, participants had the choice between 2 options. They could either exercise or play video games. But the catch was that people were in a room where they could exercise right now or walk across campus to play video games, whereas others were in a room where they could play video games right now or walk across campus to exercise. Almost everyone just stayed where they were. So if video games were more easily accessible, they played video games. If exercise was more easily accessible, they exercised. I had one member who had a similar competing demand. After a long day of work, she just wanted to hang out and relax on the couch. Or her competing option would be go for a bike ride. She wanted to ride her bike, but she was exhausted, she was tired. So to make the choice obvious and introduce friction in the decision-making process, what she did was she placed her bike clothes and helmets right on the couch. Before she could sit on the couch, she would have to remove her helmet and put down her clothes. So what we did was we made the good decision more obvious, and we put friction between her and the couch time. Now there are dozens and dozens of behavior change techniques out there. These are just 3 of my favorites. So give them a try and drop a comment in the comments section as to how they work for you. And again, please don't forget to like, share, and also subscribe to this channel as well.